Hey everyone, welcome to the Explainer. Let's, just be completely honest with each other for a second and set the scene here. We have all been there, right? It's the middle of the night and you find yourself absolutely trapped in this deeply relatable, sensory-rich scenario that just feels, well, almost impossible to break out of. Picture this. It's exactly 2 a.m. Your room is pitch black. The only thing lighting up your face is that stark, cold blue light of your phone screen. Your eyes are incredibly heavy. I mean, your body literally feels like lead, and yet, here you are. You're 5 miles deep into a comment section, relentlessly scrolling past videos you don't even like, about topics you honestly didn't even care about 20 minutes ago. You know you've got to be up in exactly 5 hours, and you can already feel the regret just waiting for you. Okay, let's dive into this. Why can't you just put the phone down? This right here is the ultimate scientific mystery that we are going to unravel today. As you're lying there in the dark, there's probably this quiet, kind of cruel voice in your head whispering that you're just lazy or, that you completely lack self-control. But I want to offer you a major plot twist here. You really need to mute that cruel voice because you are not lazy and you certainly aren't broken. When we look at this through the lens of psychology, this late night scrolling, it isn't just a bad habit. That massive urge to keep swiping is actually your nervous system sending out a massive SOS. You're experiencing a biological shutdown where your body is actively prioritizing survival over sleep. Section 1. Reclaiming your lost autonomy. Now, what's really interesting about this is, to break the cycle, we first got to understand what your brain is desperately trying to do. When you have a day that feels completely unpredictable, chaotic, or just totally out of your control, that doesn't just magically vanish when you put your pajamas on, it absolutely terrifies your nervous system. So enter the concept of revenge bedtime procrastination. Listen, this is not about you trying to make yourself miserable for the next workday. It's actually a brilliant, albeit totally exhausting attempt by your brain to build a fortress of autonomy. When your daytime hours feel overwhelmingly demanding, your brain desperately seeks the only safe zone you have left, your bed, to reclaim the power and agency you lost during the day. And that is exactly why you turn to your screen. Because in the digital world, you are the director. You get to decide what to watch, when to scroll, and when to pause. This late night window is often the very first time of the entire day where absolutely no one is asking anything of you. It's a sanctuary of control. Moving on to Section 2, the mind's open tabs. But hey, that need for control isn't the only thing keeping you awake. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to let go of an unfinished conversation? Well, this brilliantly illustrates why. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. This is a hardwired rule in our brains, stating that we remember interrupted or unfinished tasks much more vividly than the ones we've actually completed. So if your day ended with, say, a vague email from your boss, an unread text, or an interaction that just felt a little off, your brain literally treats those unresolved moments as open browser tabs, endlessly searching for resolution. And let me tell you, those open tabs are incredibly loud. When you're scrolling, you are actively trying to drown out the noise of all those tabs. Your mind is just looping the data from your day over and over and over. So the scrolling acts as this massive distraction, a really desperate attempt to finally archive those looping memories, just so your brain will finally let you go to sleep. Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. The survival simulator. So we've talked about endless scrolling, but what about doom scrolling? Like, why do we actively seek out bad news when we're supposedly trying to relax? It seems completely counterintuitive, right? Well, this behavior is actually driven by a very specific defense mechanism called defensive pessimism. When you're frantically reading about worst-case scenarios at 2 a.m., your brain is actually believing a very specific lie. It thinks that if you can see the pain coming right now, you won't be caught off guard when it actually happens in real life. By looking at potential disasters, you're basically attempting to steal the element of surprise away from the universe. But man, running this survival simulator comes at a steep, hidden physical toll. You aren't just staring at a screen, you're hitting what psychologists call your social allostatic load, which is honestly just a fancy way of saying you're accumulating severe wear and tear from chronic stress. As you scroll through these disasters, you are literally signaling your adrenal glands to pump cortisol directly into your bloodstream. This creates a really deep physical exhaustion, all because your body is working overtime to protect you from digital ghosts on a screen. Section 4. Escaping the sanctuary trap. This brings us to a really heartbreaking reality. Your bedroom should be your ultimate place of rest, right? But tragically, when this biological response takes over, your bedroom turns into a trap. Your brain is essentially trying to use the phone as a glass wall to protect you against a terrifying outside world, kind of keeping you from feeling any more pain. But here is the devastating catch. The longer you stay inside this digital loop to feel safe, the more terrifying and demanding tomorrow morning's outside world starts to feel. So the crucial point is, how do we actually break out of this? How do we close the loop? Well, it takes 2 actionable steps. First, you have got to remove the shame. Stop calling yourself lazy. You're a human being, not a machine, and you've simply been pushed into the red zone for way too long. Second, when you find your heart racing over a scenario on your feed at midnight, you have to practice radical acceptance. When you're stuck in the dark, staring at that blue light, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and just silently say this to yourself. I am tired. My brain is trying to protect me, but this simulation is over for tonight. You cannot control the future by scrolling through it, and you definitely cannot change today by replaying it at 2 a.m. If this explainer felt like looking into a mirror, please take this right now as your absolute permission to rest without the guilt. You are not alone in this invisible exhaustion. Your brain is doing its absolute best to keep you safe, but you do not have to carry the weight of the entire world through a 5-inch screen. You know, sometimes just shining a light on these behaviors is enough to begin breaking their spell. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What does your 2 a.m. loop actually look like? Take a moment to think about it, because naming the ghost always makes it a little less scary. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you get some rest tonight.